Speaking of doing the right thing, by the way, let's use that as a leverage to jump right on our second discussion on the program this morning. I want to bring back Austin Osakwe quickly to have this conversation. Nigeria has a history of borrowing, yes, but in the last couple of years, especially under this current government, it will appear that we are doing perhaps more borrowing from Asia, which in particular is from China, that we've been doing with the countries from the global West. China has been very vocal about establishing itself across the world, including in Africa, in particular in Nigeria. China has had to bail out many countries in several ways, some very disturbing and challenging circumstances. But in our case in this country, the railway system in particular is where some persons are now afraid that China has perhaps more leverage than Nigeria on account of what some persons have come to refer to as controversial agreements that Nigerian government signed with the Chinese authorities. The Honorable Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, has spent, from what we see and hear, the last few weeks defending these agreements with the Chinese authorities. On the contrary, the Standing Committee of the House of Representatives, saddled with the responsibility of evaluating, in particular, treaties and protocols that Nigeria has signed with other countries, is now saying, look, we had a misstep with these agreements. We did a lot of things very wrongly. In fact, they are saying in certain cases, some of these agreements were nothing better than blank papers. Is this just an exaggeration, or is this something that should keep us all up at night to say, look, we have to hit the reset button in this country?
Good morning once again. Hello?
We can hear you all right. Go ahead.
All right. I'll tell you this. Governance is not rocket science. These guys in government give the impression that because they are in government, they are superhuman. The rest of us know nothing. Let me tell you this. Victor Hugo, in rehashing the earlier positions of statesmen and philosophers, was the one who posited. Now, you must not fear to negotiate, but never negotiate out of fear. I extend that to never negotiate out of pressure. Look, is it okay? We have banks, for instance, but we also have money lenders. The money lenders on the street who give loans at interest that are ridiculously high. They continue to do their business because the people they attend to are those who are under pressure, who say, if I don't get this money today, the sky falls. And so we've been advising that go and get money respectively, which you know you can pay back. So the giver and the receiver at the point they are collecting money know that there's not going to be a payback. So they lose houses, they lose properties. Governance is not different from this simple scenario I have painted. Now, what is the pressure Nigeria is under? That we are borrowing from everywhere across the world. We know the history of China. I was just reading recently, Uganda is the latest victim. They borrow from China, they can't pay. It gets to the time of maturity, China takes over the international airport. China takes over the name it. That's the modus operandi of China. And they're not hiding it. The world knows this. So recently, the Tanzanian president said, look, we're not going to borrow from these people because we're seeing what they have done to other countries. The Rwanda president said the same thing. What is Nigeria's preoccupation with loans, for God's sake? Look, how much have we have a very good ancestor, Nigeria, the man called Sani Abacha. The man is giving more money to Nigeria after than he gave when he was alive. The man has given billions of dollars back to this country. However, the responsible government, the responsible society will say, this money is coming free, we didn't expect it. Let us identify 2 or 3 critical sectors so that we can put this money into it. And transparently, Nigerians will see that such resources are deployed. They won't do that. You don't have a report of how they spent whatever they have gotten. And several other CCs that the FCC has done, by their own admission, it runs into billions of dollars. But we won't know what they did it. I don't know whether there is a spiritual that is pushing the present administration at the federal level to put Nigeria, or Nigeria, into the kind of debt regime that 5 generations from now won't be able to pay off. we already established in our earlier discussion that this we are not seeing the product of this borrowing. Now we're talking about borrowing, don't forget the grants. There's a lot of grants that come into this country, free money that we don't have to pay back. What are they done with it? And then anytime it is opposed, they bring in political sentiments, tribal sentiments. I don't care where you are putting a railway, I don't care where you are putting anything. As long as Nigerians are moving around the country, they will get to enjoy whatever you put in any corner of Nigeria. So those are just political sentiments to declare our sense of commitment to transparency and accountability. I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to get back to you in a bit, Austin Osakwe. Let me talk to Lou Martins again. Chukwuka Abichi is telling these members of the committee of the House of Reps to say, look, if you have a problem with these agreements, if you're uncomfortable with the clauses in these agreements, then you have to recommend for us, the executive, where else we can get loans, because it will appear the only lifeline we have, as far as we can see now, are the Chinese people. Doesn't that just make economic sense in light of the reality we're grappling with?
Well, from the surface, perhaps, from the unsuspecting populace, perhaps. But if you look closer, you will find out that China doesn't just borrow you for borrowing's sake. All right? It's unlike the British and the Western world.
Right.
They can give you money and expect you to make some economic decisions. For instance, is that IMF can borrow you money predicated on the fact that you may need to adjust your pump price. You may need to adjust your electricity tariffs. That's what they do. But when China borrows you money, they tie you to an infrastructure.
Right.
This is what you're going to do with the money, and then there is a caveat to it. Should, in case you're not able to refund the money, you're going to give up the control of this infrastructure
altogether.
Yes, for XYZ number of time. Like he was talking about Uganda, I think there's something about Angola also.
Some person have talked about Zambia as well.
Even Mali is giving up control of their ports for some 99 years. All right, so you can understand where these Chinese guys are going to. They are pure Shylock people. They are about economic profiteering. I'll tell you a bit about the Chinese people, because I worked with some of them when I was in Lagos. You give a Chinese man a 3-bedroom luxury flat, for instance, in VI. He comes in by himself and maybe his family. Leave that apartment for him for a year. You'll be amazed that he has divided your apartment. If you see the amount of people coming out from a 3-bedroom flat in Victoria Island, you won't believe it. Sometimes they are as much as 17, 20 people coming out from your apartment. You don't want to take another apartment. All they want is to have a small room, play there, and to do all the kind of things that they want. So very much people. But then the fact they want to go to work to some kind of economic new kind of economic nation. So if China gives you money, because you're going to build a recession. If you cannot do it, what do you pay for that? If you before, then because they know that how she is like he said that the if that transparently if there is that this is corruption, they don't want it. It's like giving money to you that has to free money. But one continue to do anything because it's going for drugs. It's not the money for exercise. You give him money, talking stuff, and do something. That's something to Elijah. Say, look, my husband is dead. I want to borrow the money. Take my so can sleeves exactly what I want to do. And like I told you, even with the money, that's really wrong again. That's what I have to do is intelligence, right? But borrow productivity, you borrow for consumption. In Nigeria, we borrow, and then the money that we see is that the money is not second because people ask, but then for instance, I have for money, and then you cash your water. It's not consistent. The balance is like, you're going to choose. It's not sure about it. It's in the people who borrow you, you must be in one goal. If you don't you can use our money. A positive cash flow. And then cash flow is in the middle. Consistently, it's what they pay back. Yeah, like one half for debt cancel, or they have to do good. China is way to borrow Africa more money. So I'm not into it. Eventually, to control infrastructure. In London, everybody's being money to be channels like a bank. And sometimes like the CEO of the family in which because we have spent half of that. I'll ask them, look, we don't pay bankers no money that will last more than 2 weeks. If this is boss, what's the banker and has some level of financial independence, he not to work. Bankers take months. So if you have, for instance, you can transfer for like 10 months. My tactic, you are in debt to 10 months, to buy 10 what it is, as a banker, you have to know 50,000. You have to check this, you have to check things, so when it comes to you, you have to, so you get to the bank. You don't go and you cannot, because all the checks that you have to have, they try to match your particular, no matter how your employee or you have to say that exactly what I'm they don't corrupt leaders who don't care about people, like who don't care how we pay. For them, they make sure take care of it. They borrow as much as they borrow. They will put in account, and then protect their own identity of the national population.
Looking at what this lending pictures have for us as people. So technically, also this whole hearing, the same way of hiring, essentially the NDC pro. Is it possible for us to have positive discussion now development in
if it is possible for us to
not just have a disruption, like a change of attitude, change of approach, re-strategize, for instance, and
that is the bottom line. Now, before I go into that, I want us to relieve certain scenarios.
Okay.
And these are real-life scenarios, ongoing in different parts of Africa as we speak, with regards to Chinese loans to African countries. There's an African country now that China has so planted itself because of the leverage their loans have given them in that country. They have established their own police station.
Like a Chinese police station?
Yes, a Chinese police station.
In that country?
Yes. So, in other words, if someone from that country, Uganda, breaches what the Chinese, in their understanding, is an act against their interest, they can arrest such a citizen, not to a Ugandan police station, but to the Chinese police station inside Uganda. Then, also in Uganda recently, there was a Chinese restaurant where the CEO and those who run, the Chinese who run the restaurant, will hold latecomers just like schools. You know, school authorities will charge some teachers to be in charge of late-coming students.
Right.
So when these workers come late from the gate, they line up to be thrashed, to be caned inside their own country. I want us to look at these scenarios. He mentioned the one regarding the taking over of the airport, international airport of an African country. Now, just for you to have a good picture of this, the international airport is the artery through which human capital flow from one country to the other. So if another sovereign nation, China, because you are indebted and you cannot pay, and now they are taking over your airport for 100 years, that means that the present regime of China, those who are the leaders in China, and those who are the leaders in boring countries, they will all be dead and gone before the airport will be restored. Because having some examples of NS became hidden like that when he instance, which have already there is a security power at the level at this hour speak. And like I'm not doing research of APC, I'm not having no best leaders, but vote on the nation of these laws that are absolutely grabbing and free to Nigeria. We will not send to how they take those. How can back that? The slave, the tradition, the method offices, they are taking influence. That's what it is. And what out? China, denying that in the Irish services today, they have increased the public cost, seeking regulation to replace sovereignty, the image public that they will have. The boss is saying now that all who is different, when it's to declare, who was saying now, something that's perhaps to back up. I should mention to go back to the house, just like us. If China is dying, that the master for Nigeria's to know, the president, we always say that, through default, you can say for our military and or structures, the power to out from behind the second car, how can you make always ask the person to defend that terrible miscalculation of sustaining the long relationship that PDP began with the $500 million borrowing for Nigeria Loan Project. It is a terrible trap we are walking into, and I am appealing to all Nigerians that the people appointed to be in charge of that probe and not those who should be there. Nigerians should be the ones in the streets. We should occupy the national assembly to appeal, not to fight, to appeal, not to fight, but to appeal that under no circumstance should Nigeria proceed with one extra naira
from the Chinese people. Okay.
Not only the Chinese people, any other form of borrowing.
For that matter, which is of course.
And we should criminalize the personnel of any foreign partner that continue to advocate for granting more loans to Nigeria in the absence of a transparent and accountable result sheet.
Apparently, that's the same position that Austin Osakwe has established just a while ago. That just points to the fact that many Nigerians are becoming body day increasingly. Well, we'll get into here. Thank you so much, I think, for who joined us at this point. Say thank you for so much time. So thank you for the discussion.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, yours.
All right, we're taking a quick break at this point. We'll back shortly to have just two quick interviews, and then we'll wrap it up on TMI. Stay with me.